The FCT minister controls the FCT with enormous political machinery. His faction of the PDP called the Ibadan Summit the gathering of impostors. And if PDP does not unify, and if the Wike faction fields a separate candidate, will the single presidential candidate strategy survive?
What party is Wike?
PDP.
And whose interest is he protecting in the PDP? Do you remember the statement, the interview of the governor of Oyo State, Makinde, where he told you that himself and Wike went to meet with the president, and Wike was telling the president that I will hold the PDP for you? Does that not worry you, sir? Is it not frightening that somehow a governor who was in PDP turned to work for an APC candidate, and you saw the kind of results that you saw in Obiakpo and in Rivers State, where a BBC documentary has confirmed that Peter Obi won the Rivers State election, and that person is seated in the federal cabinet of the APC government and somehow is the national leader of the PDP, and that PDP is supposed to also endorse and work for. And if you watch during the campaign of the FCT election, of course, the minister was campaigning for the APC candidate. In fact, he told them to vote and go home and leave the rest for me. So is that the person we are discussing or taking seriously? What a country we have built, where we have been able to empower rascality and rogue attitude in public office. That is why people can come out and make reckless statements, because they believe that they are beyond, they are gods on their own. The institutions have been subverted to the will of strong men. It is a tragedy that we must change. If not, Wike cannot gather journalists and say whatever he wants to say. He comes out to, the judiciary has become a pet project of the FCT minister. You build houses, you buy cars, you pamper them. Your spouses can move from the high court to the appellate court, and that is why you can get whatever court orders that you want. So today we do not almost have a judiciary, we have the legal department of the ruling party. It is a tragedy. So whenever I see characters like that talk, it is up to Nigerians to wake up and say that, look, our lives matter, and until our votes begin to count, our lives will not count. If the votes of the people of Rivers State counted for them to choose a governor, a former minister or a former governor cannot come and tell them that I made a governor for you. So the more than 10 million people of Rivers State do not know how to pick a governor. So that few months into office, you destabilize an entire state, the House of Assembly. The governor of Rivers State has not been able to appoint commissioners. Uncle Victor, what is the fight between Wike and Fubara? Has anybody explained it to us? So that is the person who is talking about opposition. I think Nigerians must understand that it is up to us to end this APC reign of terror. If you continue to be complicit, if you continue to keep quiet, we are only enabling and embodying characters like that. I think we should just talk about how this country must move forward.
We're talking about how this country must move forward. The governor of Oyo State, Makinde, gave a very powerful speech at the Ibadan Summit. And he's the only governor with a measure of credibility to bridge the interest in PDP, in APC, and other splinter political parties. Do you think he is, or maybe positioning himself to be beneficiary of the joint presidential ticket?
I think it is up to him. Politicians can be up to many things. Incidentally, I have lived in Ibadan. And Seyi Makinde, to the best of my knowledge, amongst his peers as governor, is far above average. Very, very committed to his people. His policies are people-centered. In fact, he inherited a lot of disaster from the late former governor who was in APC, tried to harmonize the entire civil service. But of course, he has his own political, issues. He was aligned with the G5 governors who went around dancing with Ashobi, with Wike, and at the end, you are now disgruntled, so you are neither here nor there. It is up to all of you to sit down and introspect and ask yourself, what do you want for this country? Is it about you? He had contested to be House of Representatives, but he had contested to be governor before, so he knows what it means for you to be resisted. If God gives you an opportunity to become a leader, it is an opportunity for you to stand with the values and principles that you know that are true. Nigeria as it is today does not need a washing and setting. Nigeria is in dire strait. We are in trouble in this country. The Tinubu administration is not just bad government. It is an existential threat to Nigeria as an emerging democracy and to our lives as human beings. This is not a time for mischief making, to come together and begin to plot on whether I can or this can or that can. How can Nigeria survive? Uncle Victor, today in Nigeria, Terrorists kidnap people, flog them on camera, post online, and ask government to pay ransom, and government is paying ransom. Few days ago, you heard the story, the video, a GUO bus from Ore, between Ore and Lagos, a full bus kidnapped, the driver shot dead. Government is not able to find where they are. Nigerian government today is reintegrating so-called repentant terrorists into the system, spending taxpayer money on terrorists in the name of repentance and rehabilitation. That is what we call a government. So when I see politicians talking and making statements like this, I feel frightened that we are not putting in context the value and the dignity of human life. We are talking about politics. You must not be a leader. You must not be president. Nigeria needs to be saved. People in Plateau, Benue are waiting for somebody who will come and protect their lives. They are no longer even demanding for lights. NEPA, we have not even talked about that one. People just want to be able to sleep and wake up in their country. What a calamity. Please, opposition must do the right thing. They must prove that they can be better.
There have been calls for the INEC chairman to resign, given some of the issues that have trailed his appointments and allegations of being biased, being sentimentally attached to the APC and the president. What is your take on his call to resign?
Should anybody be advising Amukwekon to vacate that office? I think that if the INEC chairman has any shred of shame or integrity or character left in him, he should do the honorable thing and excuse himself before Nigerians even put the pressure to do so. You cannot be obviously aligned to a process or a party and then come out to claim to be a neutral arbiter. I said it during the electoral reform town hall we had somewhere in Abuja Continental, where my questions, I was not even allowed to ask questions, and I made a video in that hall. I came out and I publicly said, the body language of this Joash Amukwekon is headed to be 101 times worse than Mahmood Yakubu. If Mahmood gave you glitches, Amukwekon will give you calisthenics in glitches. If you heard throughout that electoral reform conference, the only two people who agreed with themselves on the issues of elections were somehow INEC and the APC. Uncle Victor, including independent auditors, Nigerian Society of Engineers, experts whom have monitored elections, were looking at how the Electoral Act should be amended to safeguard the electoral process. The only two people who said that this was okay was Amukwekon and the INEC chairman. Somehow. So when the INEC chairman makes a statement, this person who will respond is the APC chairman. So I have raised the alarm for Amukwekon to get out of INEC even before this issue of the Twitter case. So this only just comes to confirm the fact that you probably took an APC ward chairman from Kaba or Ayetoro Bede in Kogi to come and make INEC chairman. So they are doing double factor authentication. The current APC national chairman is a former INEC commissioner. The current INEC chairman is an APC stalwart. So there is INEC in APC and there is APC in INEC. You know that in the Yoruba say Uri Buruku Lenshe. Uncle Victor. You know that Uri Buruku. If we don't end this Ori Buruku and our Ori as Nigerians later go and Buru in 2027, we will have ourselves to blame. Amukwekon has to excuse himself, and Nigerians must increase the pressure because we cannot have APC conduct election for APC. You want to be a referee in a match where you are wearing jersey for one part of the football team. What a shame. Who are you deceiving?
But you know, Nigerians is not in our character to resign. And do you think that APC strongly is defending him? And then the opposition seem not to be putting the heat on him.
Unfortunately.
So how do you expect him to resign?
That is the problem with this opposition. In Nigeria today, we have an opposition who have been too used to being ruling party. Imagine Eli Mohammed opposition in 2014 having this shred of evidence against the INEC chairman. Today in Nigeria, APC issues statements on behalf of INEC. INEC will issue statement, APC. The only people who are defending INEC is APC. The thing no shock you, sir. But he will not resign, and that is why Nigerians must put the pressure. But there is another caveat to it. The current constitution empowers the president to appoint the INEC chairman. So even if Amukwekon leaves, Tinubu will appoint his replacement. Why? Because we did not also put pressure to get the constitutional amendment or review when the process was on. Even the opposition, including electoral reforms, they were not so much invested in the process. We must make elections and the issues of the electoral process become so frightening and dangerous that any person who assumes that position must understand that if you decide to take the path of illegality and go against the constitution and the people, there will be a price to pay. Everybody must know that when you come to do elections, you are taking charge of the country's recruitment process, and you must be loyal to the constitution and not criminals in power who are desperate to use you. The people who brought you Amukwekon had a predetermined agenda to bring you, but Nigerians must superimpose because we are more. So even if Tinubu like, he should appoint his son Sheyi as INEC chairman. He can even appoint his own wife or whatever to head the process. That institution must be overwhelmed by Nigerians to ensure that it produces for you. Remember that the 2023 act that gave us glitches and gave us Tinubu is the same act that gave Kano people, NNPP, their governor. They insisted that the right thing be done. The weapon that wants to be used to destroy you can be used against your enemies to protect yourself.
Since we are talking about the judiciary,
Yeah.
let's look at the forum of former National Assembly members coming together to go to court, arguing that they want the deregistration of ADC, Action Alliance, and 2 other political parties. How do you see issues like this?
Uncle Victor, are we a normal people? Nigerians, are we normal? Are we okay? A group of former lawmakers who have served the country in parliament, in the parliament of the hallmark of a democracy is parliament. That is the institution that is absent in a military dictatorship. So you have served there. You understand what it means on the principles of checks and balances. You understand what a viable opposition is to the life of a democracy. And then you wake up and say that what you want is a deregistration of party. On what basis? What could be the ground for that? And how do you wake up and come up with that kind of statement if you are not being funded by persons who are... But of course, how can you complain, or how are you going to fault them? We had the chief of staff to the president, Femi Gbajabiamila, who also has been a speaker of the House of Representatives in this country, a ranking member of the National Assembly, on national TV, telling a suspended member of a party in ADC, he said, don't leave, stay there, fight them, scatter the place, we support you. That your factional person, what is his name, nephew, bring him to us, we will support him. The chief of staff of the president of a country is making that statement. What else are you saying, Ms. Uncle Victor? Nigeria, it is like lunatics have taken over the asylum. What we call government in Nigeria today is organized criminality. There is no level of recklessness and rascality you will not see. So do not be even surprised when you will see INEC staff also protesting. Amukwekon can even become we can even publicly open a grassroots support of City Boys. Maybe there is an INEC unit of City Boys movement. You don't even know. Nigeria na anyhow. Anybody, you can see the Chief Justice of Nigeria tomorrow wake up and attend APC primaries and say that we are also part of the mandate. After all, they sang on their mandate, they shall collapse during their judicial function. We must end this structure of criminality. It is not working.
Let's revert back to the Ibadan summit. Of course, the president's camp, they monitored the Ibadan summit. They saw almost all the names that matter in the opposition party at that summit. Former Vice President Atiku, P2B, Rabi Okwakwanso, Rotimi Amechi, Tanomis, that is Turaki. Yeah. That's a factional PDP leader. How afraid do you think the villa is right now in the light of that gathering, and what are your reasons?
APC, Nigeria is in crisis, and APC is in pandemonium. APC is in pandemonium because they are stuck with a calamity. They are stuck with a bad market. Tinubu is such a bad commodity that in Nigeria they will say they no fit put am for show glass. There is nowhere you can market it. So now the only strategy of the APC is to ensure that we bring destabilization to the opposition so that they do not come together. So you are going to see the APC monitoring the ADC convention and primaries because they know that for us, we are done for. We have one candidate. This person, free and fair, he will lose. Not free and fair, he will still lose once opposition is united. So that is why you are going to see, I saw a clip of the APC publicity secretary, an interview of him analyzing the Ibadan summit, and at a point I was confused whether he was the ADC publicity secretary. He seemed to know more about that summit than even the ADC people. What exactly are you afraid of, Uncle Victor? A party that has more than 30 governors. You have more than 8. The National Assembly is a Tinubu daycare. It is a crèche for Tinubu's children. If Tinubu says that Fabio should jump, the question will be how high? There is no limit to what they will do as rubber stamp. Any loan that you want to collect from OPE to clear fair money, borrow from Kuda to clear Pampe, you will get it under 30 minutes. There is nothing that will not pass under this rubber stamp assembly. You have the judiciary on the mandate. You have an APC chieftain in INEC. Tinubu, what is your fear? Why are you running? You have done so much. You remove subsidy. You have increased money and revenue to governors. You have done everything. You have city boys. You have integrity group. You have township girls. You have Tinubu, can you just leave opposition to do their thing? In fact, now, if you see Tinubu and the APC camp talking about Obi, you will think Obi is a serving president in another part of Nigeria. Everything and stone is thrown at him. The things that he has been enduring, that is to show you that this government is in panic. Opposition must also read the room. Understand that you should not move against the tide. Nigerians are tired of this dysfunctionality. Nigerians want a better system and a better country, but we will not replace criminal with criminality. We want leadership. The opposition, the question before them, it is not about Tinubu now. It is even more of the job of opposition. Will you be different? Do you want to offer Nigerians something different from what we have today? Or you are just disgruntled because you are not in power? Once opposition puts themselves together with the support of the Nigerian people, who are the people's opposition, before 12 o'clock on election day, Tinubu is gone. In fact, before election day, there is a way you will see people registering and mobilizing to vote. The wife of the president will be moving personal effects before 29 because they know that they cannot be in the villa beyond May 29. Forget about the solar farm they put for themselves there.
All right, but there are hailers. You know, in Nigeria, there are two camps. They say there are two camps, the hailers and the wailers.
The wailers.
The hailers are saying that the opposition they are disgruntled people who have lost the election. So that is why they are making so much noise. And the president himself said, if you are not seeing all that I have done, then you need some glasses to help yourself. What do you make of that statement?
You can imagine such a statement from a commander-in-chief. Chief Bola Tinubu will have to decide whether he wants to be the president of Nigeria or he wants to be the chairman of NURTW. If he wants to be the president of the country, we are a country governed with the constitution, and there is a clause that makes it your responsibility to protect life and property. If he wants to be NURTW chairman, he can go and contest with his boy Oluomo so that they can have the factional chairmanship. If you want to implement motopark politics and recklessness, Nigerians must not allow this level of recklessness and rascality to be brought into governance. Everybody must resist it. What exactly is the courage? On what performance is Tinubu requesting for a second term? On what record? What effrontery? Insecurity in Nigeria today. Nigeria is the 5th most terrorized nation in the world. Nigeria is the world's headquarters for maternal mortality. We have more than 130 persons living in extreme and multi-dimensional poverty. Today, Nigeria has become so corrupt that we can afford to hand over contracts of a coastal highway of over 15 trillion to a friend of the president who, by the way, is a convicted money launderer in the USA. In fact, the president took the second highest national honors in Nigeria quietly to France to award to Gilbert Shogori, GCON, a title reserved for our vice president, the Senate president, and the speaker, to give to in a private ceremony without even the National Assembly or the knowledge of the Nigerian state. That is where Nigeria is today. Under Tinubu, we do not know the level and the extent to which there is criminality in the country's budget. In 2025, according to the Minister for Health, over 200 billion budgeted for capital expenditure for the Ministry of Health. Less than 40 million was released for capital expenditure. Meaning in Nigeria today, we have more renewed hopelessness campaign buses than we have Federal Ministry of Health emergency ambulances. A senator came out and said in 2023, 24, and 25, the budgets are not implemented, that the money is stolen. And Tinubu has the nerves to be going around the country talking about campaign. That is, we have a president. Tinubu has too many titles to be this irresponsible and to be this level of failure. You alone, you are Jagaban. You are supposed to be master strategist. You are supposed to be Ashiwaju. You are supposed to be, on the mandate. You are supposed to be the head of city boys. Imagine a Jagaban who cannot provide security. Imagine if Nigerian terrorists and criminals knew that there was a Jagaban in office. Under Jagaban, terrorists are holding stakeholder meeting in Katsina, and the terms and conditions are put in place by the terrorists. Under Jagaban, we have Nigerian government paying ransom, and the Kebbi state government is telling you that who ordered troops out of the school in Maga before they were kidnapped. Jagaban cannot tell you. Under Jagaban, Jagaban went to Plateau State where people were killed. Who is supposed to be head of City Boy? City Boy reached city, could not enter the city, stayed at the airport. They bring somebody whose only son had died to come and meet with Jagaban in the airport. Uncle Victor, this one na Jaga. The ban don't cut.